Delta is reporting just now. The stock I can see is under a little pressure. Phil LeBeau joins us now with the numbers. Revenue a little light there, Phil.
Unit revenue, Joe. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Here's what Delta reported for the second quarter, in line with expectations, earning $2.36 a share. Revenue, total revenue, coming in just shy of expectations at $15.41 billion. But here's where the pressure is coming from. Unit revenue, basically revenue per available seat mile. Delta's guidance for the quarter was to be flat to negative 2%, came in lower by 2.6%. So that was a greater decline than the street was expecting. The premium seat revenue, when you look at the other metrics in terms of revenue, premium seat revenue up 10% year over year. International revenue up 4%. Cost per seat mile, now this was actually a little bit better than expected. It was up just 0.6%. Many were expecting it to be even higher than that. Operating margin of almost 15%. And then you have free cash flow of $1.27 billion. That's up 16% compared to the second quarter of last year. Guidance for the third quarter. This is going to be shy of expectations. Another reason there's some pressure there on shares. Delta guiding to earn between $1.70 and $2 a share. The street going into this earnings report was expecting them to, in the third quarter, earn $2.05 a share. And the third quarter revenue is going to be up 2 to 4%. The expectation is that it was going to be up 5.8%. So again, lighter than expectations. Full year guidance remains unchanged, earning between $6 and $7 a share. The street's at $6.57, and they are also affirming their full free cash flow guidance of making or bringing in $3 to $4 billion this year. Lots to discuss with Ed Bastian, CEO of Delta. We'll be talking with him exclusively coming up just after the top of the hour, guys. But again, the pressure on shares, two things. Unit revenue in the second quarter coming in lighter than expectations or lower than expectations. And then you have guidance that is not where the street was. The street was at $2.05 for the third quarter. Delta saying it plans to earn between $1.70 and $2 a share. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
I understand that. You know what you're pointing to, Phil. I just don't understand the why. So every day we see record travel.
Sure.
People are saying a glut of seats.
Have you seen the fares, Joe? Yeah.
A glut of seats.
The problem is at the lower end of the market is oversaturated, and as a result, you've got very little pricing power. And that's reflected in terms of the unit revenue per available seat mile. You look at the premium segment, which is not oversaturated, and look how well Delta is doing there, up 10% year over year. So there's demand there, but it's that lower end of the market. And remember, we had guidance from Southwest, American. We've heard from other airlines that they are also expecting their revenue to be impacted because of how much capacity has been brought into the system this summer. We've talked about this many times. You add too much capacity into the system, especially at the mass market level, you're going to have lower fares, and that's going to be reflected in the revenue numbers.
Yeah, I mean, the headlines, Delta's sagging profits signal trouble for airlines this summer. That's the Dow Jones, I think. And profit fell 29% from a year earlier as it grapples with a glut of seats in the U.S. market and higher fuel costs. That'll be it. But
we'll talk with Ed Bastian about this.
And they're building up fancy lounges for those people that like the premium seats too, right?
Well, you can't blame them for doing that. Look, their premium revenue is up in terms of their seats. Premium up 10% year over year. What airline wouldn't want to have that and wouldn't want to meet the demands of those customers, which is why, and we'll talk about the Delta One Lounge and Ed's belief that that is part of differentiating Delta from other airlines. And you see that whether it's on international loyalty, which was also
of any kind. In an egalitarian sense, I don't want any privilege of any kind. I've learned, Phil, and I only want to go to a lounge where there's every single person that can possibly fly is also in that lounge. But that's just me. That's the kind of guy I am. Thank you, Phil. We'll talk to Ed Bastian at the top of the hour with Phil.